I wanted, it's gonna sound cheesy, I wanted to be like, you know, I wanted to be like my grandma. I wanted to be a musician. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be a jazz musician. Like, I was like, I know where I want to go. It was about 2 years, I'd say, that I didn't play my horn, which is crazy because if you know anything about brass and like forming an embouchure, that like 2 years off the horn is like basically starting over.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with Alexander Lewis. So you were born in, how do you say it, like Brackettville? In California?
In California, yeah. Vacaville.
Vacaville, oh my god.
Yeah, it was, it translates to Cowtown in Spanish. So that's, you know, that's the kind of area I grew up in. But now with the tech industry boom, obviously in the Bay Area, the city's grown a lot.
So what was it like before?
I mean, I lived in a neighborhood where there was like farm for like miles and miles.
Wow.
For like, until like you had to drive 15 minutes to get to like the nearest, maybe not 15 minutes, like 10 minutes to the nearest like grocery store. But growing up from like, until I like hit maybe like the middle of high school, then it started getting developed. And then when I came back from college, it was just like homes everywhere because of like San Francisco, the cost of living got so expensive, so people started moving out into different areas of the Bay Area. So
did your classmates or friends, did they have like farms and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of them, and it made for dope parties.
Oh, really? What was it like?
I mean, it was like any house party, I guess, just like
on a farm.
But just like on a farm. Yeah, it was dope though.
Damn. But what do your parents do then?
My dad was a mortgage broker. Now he's a contractor. Mm-hmm. And my mom used to work in real estate, but she doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
She just kind of chills and helps my sister with her 4 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where do you think you got your creative side from?
Definitely my grandma.
Oh yeah, because she's a musician also.
Yeah, she passed away like 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. But she was a trombonist, and she sang in choir, and she was always playing jazz in her house, so definitely was like took to that quite quickly.
Did you live with her?
No.
Oh, she was just really close.
But just like, yeah, so I grew up in Vacaville. And basically my mom's side of the family, they all live in Sacramento, which is like 45 minutes. Don't hit us. Which is like 45 minutes east of Vacaville. But we were always over at her house, like every single weekend, every major holiday. So I hung out a lot with my grandma, and she definitely influenced me playing the trombone, and also just playing a bunch of like jazz classics all the time. Mm. That's how I got that was basically my upbringing.
Yeah. Was trombone your first instrument?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Started in, like, basically right before middle school. Yeah, so I've played trombone my whole life.
And you also, did you pick up other instruments?
Piano. I played alto saxophone for a couple years. A little bit of French horn. I'm trying to think of, that's about it. I mean, those are all like the major ones that I actually like put some time into. I mean, obviously I've like dabbled with like guitar, but I wouldn't say that I like actually play guitar. I could probably get my way around just because I know the strings, and I know like how like it's based on like, you know, chromatic voicing, or, you know, like I could probably figure it out, but I wouldn't say that I play guitar. So
what did you love about trombone initially?
I really loved it because my grandma played it, and I wanted it's gonna sound cheesy. I wanted to be like, you know, I wanted to be like my grandma. I wanted to be a musician. So I think that's like what kind of made me interested, but then like what really like solidified my decision to play the trombone was a record came on. It was called Slide Hampton in the World of Trombones. Spirit of the Horn, sorry.
Oh.
It's called Spirit of the Horn. And the specific track is Cherokee, and it's like 8 trombones with a rhythm section.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is that instrument? Like, I want to play that. That's dope. And the music teacher was like, yeah, it's Cherokee by Slide Hampton, blah, 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 blah. And that's like, that's kind of like what made me really, I mean, that was it. I was like, yep, I want to play that. I want to do that.
How would you describe yourself back then growing up?
Like as a little kid?
Yeah, like teenage years.
I was really quiet and like kind of, I wasn't very confident, but like I don't know, it's hard to say, because like I had 2 different like kind of like personalities when I was with certain people. But when I went to school, I kept to myself, and like, you know, I was really serious about playing trombone. I just tried to stay out of trouble, you know, like I was just quiet, very
you really
introverted.
Studious?
Huh?
Were you really studious?
Yeah, like
Oh.
I took school seriously. Yeah, I kept to myself a lot. I was very introverted. I was always like the band nerd, like, you know, like the band geek. And people always knew me because I was so passionate about jazz in high school. Like I would drive into the student parking lot, like blasting like Charlie Parker, and like knowing every solo, like transcribed, like knowing, like, and just like singing along with it, and people would be like, there goes fucking, you know, AJ, fucking nerd, you know.
Did your parents push you to study really hard, or music, or was it all within you?
No, it was just I loved, ever since I played picked up the trombone, I just loved it. Like I didn't have to, my mom and dad they didn't have to, you know, they never made me pursue music. I always just loved it.
So you were in the orchestra?
Yeah, in high school. I also did the San Francisco Youth Symphony and Sacramento Youth Symphony. I did a little bit of San Francisco All-Star Jazz. And then I also played in like a college band in high school in Sacramento at, what the fuck was that? It was like a 2-year college, a community college. Damn, what the hell was it called? Anyway, I played in community college jazz band, like in high school. Drove up there like every Tuesday, Thursday, played in their band. So yeah, that was most of my high school.
Were you really competitive as well?
Yeah. I was kind of like, cause like, especially growing up in Vacaville, like, I knew like I was the best. So when I started going out like to other cities where like people might have been better than me, I got really competitive, and that just made me practice more though, which is good. It also kind of like, I kind of was a dick sometimes though. I think, looking back on it, we're all little assholes when we're high school, but yeah, looking back on it, I probably could have been a little bit nicer.
At that point in your life, what career do you think you're gonna have?
Music.
Oh, for sure?
Yeah, I was like,
you didn't want to study anything academic, even though you were good?
Nah, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be a jazz musician. Like, I was like, I know where I want to go. Like, I remember, it's funny this is coming up, because literally my mom brought this up, like, the other day. She's like, you remember when, like, you were, like, 15 and you were like, I'm going to New York? for school, for jazz. And she told me, no, you're not. Like, you're staying somewhere close. Like, go to San Francisco. Like, stay close. She really wanted me. She's like, you're not going to fly across. And then when it came time after high school.
To the Manhattan School.
Yeah, I went to Manhattan School of Music. Like, and she was like, I can't believe you did that. Like, you know. So when I was or maybe I was like 16. It was getting around the time of like, you know, wanting to choose schools and stuff like that. I was like, Mom, I'm going to New York. I'm gonna be a jazz musician. And she was like, we'll see.
Was she more scared of, like, it's so difficult to make a living being a jazz musician? Yeah.
I think she was just like, she had like reservations about me like going to New York City alone, and then also trying to make it as like as a musician, you know. Well, I mean, it ended up working out, but you know, at that you don't really think about that when you're young, you know, like you just want to do it. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So you were never afraid?
Oh no, I was afraid, but at the same time, like I knew my like passion for music outweighed my fear. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
Was your grandma at that point also pushing you to study it?
No, I mean she was overjoyed, but like nobody was like, you have to do this. Yeah. It was just like all within me. Like I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna go. You know, everybody supported my idea like of wanting to be a musician, but no one was like forcing me or pushing me to do it.
Looking back, do you think you learned a lot at the school?
Yeah, I did. I would say I learned a lot from my peers. Not so much like the institution specifically. There are a few teachers from Manhattan School of Music that I would like, that taught me a lot, that I like, I've taken like lessons from, who just, you know, that I'll take for the rest of my life. But I would say mostly my education came from like all my peers, the people that I was hanging around with, like Ivan, Brasstracks.
How did you meet him actually?
We went to the same school.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Like you had the same classes? It was a small school. Right?
Yeah, we had the same classes. Like we were, you know, and like Jonathan Stein. Like those are my close homies, and I just, you know, and they got me into producing as well. So like, you know, I learned a lot from the people around me, and playing with, you know, like-minded musicians. Because you know, you go to a conservatory for music, and a lot of that is like they're trying to preserve a certain sound, and they don't want to like push you to, I don't know, it's a tricky, conservatory is a tricky thing. Don't get wet.
No, try not to
don't get your camera wet.
So many sprinklers. But so what was your goal? Like, was your goal to graduate, like before you met them, to graduate and then be a part of a jazz band, like form a group, or? Yeah,
I mean, I think that was like my original, I think when I went into it, like when I was a freshman, I was like, all right, I'm going to get a gig teaching, and I'm going to get a gig playing in a big band, and then I'm going to do like some freelance writing stuff, or, you know, whatever the third, you know, was, or like do my own group, you know, and write for that. And that was like a solid idea until I started seeing how, you know, how hard it was to make a living off of just being a jazz musician. I think all of that kind of like disappeared once I started producing, because I was like, honestly, I don't want it. I would much rather produce. But yeah, I mean, I had it all figured out when I went. I was like, I knew what I wanted to do until I started, like, you know, you think you know you got it all figured out until you know, something like producing comes along, and then it kind of like skews you off your, you know, path.
Did producing come easily to you?
No, I mean, I think like having some like already being a musician and having like some musicality, that helped. But really, like, making things sound good was the most difficult. Like, knowing like what instrumentation to use and what sounds good was like the most difficult thing. I go back and listen to some old demos and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, you know, using that much reverb, or, you know, like something that's, or like those instruments together. And I think that's the battle, is getting smart about like what your sample choices are, or like what instrumentation you're using, and knowing the timbre of those instruments and knowing that they're gonna sound well together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like something you learn just as a you know, years of producing.
And that was around the same time that you found Team Supreme, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was through, well, Johnny introduced me to Team Supreme. Some of those beats are still out there somewhere under a different name, but I made it onto some of those ciphers. Yeah, it actually feels kind of good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started submitting weekly beats, like, trying to just get my name out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, changed my name, so just changed it to like my name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a different name when I was like submitting to those beats out there.
And then you guys formed like a group, right? I mean, you and then Brasstracks.
Well, I was a part of Candid Music Group. So out of school, Johnny and Ivan moved into an apartment together and opened up this like one-stop shop for all musicians, like photos, mixing, mastering, you know, recording, and it's called Candid Music Group. And there was a blog too, and I was a part of that. It ended up just turning into recording, mixing, and mastering. That's kind of, I don't know what the fuck I'm actually trying to say. Yeah, that was Candid Music Group.
Yeah. And then what happened after you graduated?
I moved to Brooklyn, and I just like shed my production skills for like 2 years, and when I finally felt like ready to like put some stuff out, that's how I got linked up with Film Noir way back when. I started putting stuff out, and the ball just started rolling.
Were you working another job?
No.
Well, so did you already have a fan base, and they were just making money from shows?
No. When I was living in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
I had money like saved up.
Oh.
So I was like kind of living off reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a few gigs on the horn, but really after I graduated, I stopped playing my trombone, and I just focused on production. A lot of people, like, I don't tell a lot of people this, but when I graduated, I was like so bummed out about jazz music that I like, and so excited about production that I like just completely stopped playing my horn.
Wow.
And I didn't pick it up until the Pay for What flip.
That's crazy.
Like, I was like, man, I should probably get back on my horn, and that's when I released the Pay for What flip.
Yeah. And
then I started playing trombone again. So like in that time, there was like maybe 2.5 or like 3. How long was that? it was about 2 years, I'd say, that I didn't play my horn, which is crazy because if you know anything about brass and like forming an embouchure, that like 2 years off the horn is like basically starting over. Like you have to like rework so many muscles, micro muscles in your embouchure.
Wow.
That, you know, so that sucked, but you know, it's all good because you know, it was worth it because I got really good at producing. Oh man, I got better at producing.
Really
I'm not gonna say I'm really good at producing. I almost just said that. Jesus, I'm an asshole. No, I got better at producing, and you know.
Where did you think you got your initial momentum from?
I would say the Pay for What flip for sure.
But so how did that even get out there?
I just put it on SoundCloud.
And then blog just started picking up. Were you sending it to blogs?
and just like this, like everything went after that, and people were like, "Damn, this is tight. Make more like this shit." So, and I did.
Yeah. And initially, did you have stage fright?
Yeah. I mean, I still do, actually. Like it takes to like have like a conversation with me before I go play every single time. It's mostly the sound check that I worry about, that I get really, really stressed about. And then after sound check's done, I'm like, okay, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, I get really nervous before I perform. But then when I get up on stage and I'm able to like turn into Alexander Lewis. A lot of people call me AJ. Mm-hmm. So like when I get to like turn into Alexander Lewis, like then I'm like kind of like an actor, and I'm like, all right, let's get this done, you know, like. But up until that point, I'm like really like 30 minutes before my set. If anybody talks to me, I'm like, yo, like I just like, you just can't talk to me right now. Like I gotta mentally prepare for my set. Like.
What was your reaction when you saw? Was it a song on the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So March got synced for quite a bit. I was excited. I was, you know, and my family was excited too. They were like, oh my god, like, you know, like,
legit.
Yeah, they were like, holy shit. And I was able to finally prove to my dad that music was like, you know, doing well for me. For years I was kind of skeptical about me not using my jazz background or like my jazz training or whatever. Like he's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, just went to school and 4 years of education down the drain. I'm like, Dad, come on, like. So I was able to like finally like show my dad like, look what I'm doing, you know, and that was a proud moment for me.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But also like, yeah, it was just kind of surreal to see like the Eagles like coming out and like, you know, doing their thing. Yeah. To March, which is cool.
So can you tell me about the song that you did with Chief Keef?
Yeah, so it's an original that's not out yet. It's gonna be it's Alexander Lewis featuring Chief Keef. How did
you even get that? Was it through like A&Rs?
Yeah, basically, I had a bunch of like, well, what ended up happening? I never met Chief Keef in the room, which would have been dope. But I sent him like a bunch of beats, and he ended up choosing one of them, sent it back with the most fire hook I've ever heard from Chief Keef, and then I just went in on the production. I like, you know, kind of doctored it up, and so I'm in the process of looking for another feature for that track.
Also hip hop.
Huh?
Also hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once I get that, then it's, you know, game over.
Yeah, for real.
For everybody.
Is that your goal now, to get more into hip hop?
Yeah, I've always kind of like, I've always wanted to get more involved in like into hip hop, because it's always been like such a, you know, big influence of mine. But I'm gonna keep my, you know, one foot into doing electronic music and one foot into hip hop, and I think that'll keep, you know, keep me sane and also keep, you know, fans happy. And, you know, it's like, you got to find a nice balance of like what I really am passionate about, and then like, you know, you do have fans that like come and see you and pay for shows, and you know, want to cater to them as well. So my plan is to make kind of 2 separate projects of like, you know, hip hop influence stuff, and then on the other hand make trombone instrumentals, like just straight up bangers that I can, you know, play and have fun with at shows.
How do you say your music has changed since the early songs you made?
My music?
Yeah.
I think it's just got a little bit more refined and like detailed and more to the point. Like when I first started producing, I was making a lot, and this is not to say that those songs weren't cool. I was just experimenting a little bit more with what I really wanted my sound to be, and I think that brought about like a lot of cool like results, because I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna do this and it's gonna be weird, and you know, and I think that's cool, and like, but I would say now like my sound is a little bit more just like refined and mature, detailed, making, you know, to the point songs and with like purpose, instead of like, you know, just going crazy and making whatever the fuck, you know. Something that can be fun too, you know. You gotta have a healthy balance, which I still do. I don't really tend to release those tracks. Maybe I will.
How would you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
Now?
Yeah.
Compared to when I was younger, I'm a tiny bit more confident, I guess. I think that's an interesting question. It's a little bit more, that takes a little bit more thought. Well, come back to that.
The rest are going to be a lot harder.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Me compared to when I was younger, I'm a lot more confident. Obviously, like, I have a bit more direction. I'm a little bit, you know, like, I don't know. Honestly. I don't know. Well, just go on to the next question. Okay. I got to think about that for a little bit. You just caught me off guard with that question.
So much harder. What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far in life?
Biggest challenges. Being an adult. I would say like, I think really just like my finding like really what the type of person I am, like really asking, like really, because I think a lot of people like they go on in life and they don't really like find out who they are. And I think it's been challenging, but also been like I found success in knowing like what makes me happy, what situations not to do that will bring me unhappiness, you know, the type of people that I want to hang out with. It is all like a huge process, and you only find that out from age and from like asking yourself like, okay, how did that make me feel? So I think that's being like and another challenge is like living in LA, like for me, because I miss New York so much. Found it hard to connect with people on like a deep level, and I'm finding out that, you know, a lot of you really only have a few close friends, and that's another challenge you just have to be okay with. You have to be okay with just having like these few friends that you really call your best friends.
What does love mean to you?
Oh my god. Oh man. You had to hit me with that question. Love. Can I quote the Miseducation?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like when you're in a room and you see somebody and you're like, that one. Yeah. That's love. That's it. That's all I got.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I would love to be remembered for putting out like music that, you know, great music, something that made people feel something, made them feel alive at some point. They'll go back and listen to it, you know, 20 years from now and be like, wow, do you remember that memory? Yeah, I mean, I think every artist wants to, you know, wants to be remembered for their artistry. But also I would like to, you know, on top of that, like to be remembered as like someone that was easy to work with, somebody that like, you know, was a kind person. I don't know, I'm, for the most part, I'm really, you know, I'm nice and caring. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like on the top of my list. I want my music to, you know, the stuff that I like. I want people to listen or like remember my music that I was like really passionate about, and like, you know, I think that's kind of a cool thing. Like we're leaving, you know, when we go, especially like performances and stuff like that. Like people have memories associated to that. Like I get messages saying that like they saw me at such and such festival and it was like the most life-changing experience, and I'm reading that and I'm like, fuck, like that's crazy, you know, and that's really cool. So I hope I can continue doing that and be remembered like that, you know, like.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.